You're listening to the Back Home Network, presented by Homefield Apparel.
And welcome, Hoosier fans, to another victorious episode of the Assembly Call. As today, your Indiana Hoosiers won a close game, 68-61 over Incarnate Word to move to 4-0 in the Darian DeVries era. It wasn't one of the best efforts overall from a shooting standpoint. Coach Moats is with me tonight, and we'll try to explain how these games happen and why it's better to be on the winning side than the losing side in games like this. And teams all around the nation are going to have their games where they do not beat the opponent by the spread that they're expected to, and then it's really what happens in the game after and what lessons they can learn. But I'm your host, Coach Brian Tonsoni, and like I said, I'm here with Coach Bob Moats. We'll break it down for you on this edition of the Assembly Call IU Postgame Show. But let's start this show the way we start every show, and that is with our banner moment. And in a game like this, it was just slog and a grind all night. You know, we know that when you shoot the basketball and take some threes, you're going to have a night where you don't hit shots. But for me, the banner moment was the last 4 minutes when the momentum left the Indiana side or the Indiana bench and was totally in favor of Incarnate Word. And Indiana responded. They didn't score every possession in the last 4 minutes, but they hit a couple, missed some free throws, but then DeVries hits a three to really extend it back up to 10, which seems just to be enough as Incarnate Word, again, hit a couple of big shots to get it down to as close to 5. But the banner moment for me was the last 4 minutes. As a new team coming together, everyone's been patting them on the back. They obviously were not on their A game from the shooting aspect of it, and they found a way to get some points there at the back end, just enough to withstand a very hot shooting Incarnate Word team. So that's the banner moment this evening. And as usual, our banner moment is brought to you by our friends at Homefield Apparel, now in their 10th season sponsoring the Assembly Call and their 4th as a presenting sponsor of the Back Home Network.
Homefield Apparel, wear one for the team.
Homefield has the largest collection of vintage IU apparel that you will find anywhere. And since IU is their flagship school, more high-quality gear with unique IU logos from the past is always right around the corner. Actually, it's down there on Kirkwood at the track at their store that if you're down in Bloomington, go in and stop and see. But they are sending out some game breaker jackets. The Campus Classic pullovers. I didn't read through this ad read, obviously. Carefully recreated windbreaker style pullovers from the late 80s and 90s. The jackets. They've released a bunch of schools already, more on the way. And a reminder that Homefield is always a great one-stop shop once the holidays come to get gifts for everyone on your list. I just bought a couple things. I'm not going to say family members probably watching, but I bought them from Homefield Apparel. But no matter what you buy from Homefield, it'll be comfortable and the colors will last. On normal weeks without a big sale, go to homefieldapparel.com and use our promo code HOME23 to get 15% off your entire first order. That's promo code HOME23 for 15% off. Be looking for Black Friday deals. I'm sure Homefield will have those out as well. The Homefield Apparel website is homefieldapparel.com. Wear one for the team. Okay, now it's time to move the ball, find the open man, and get some opening thoughts from the rest of our team. And the rest of our team is the one-man coaching show. Bob Moats, your thoughts on tonight's 68-61 Indiana win over Incarnate Word.
First off, this is why coaches don't have hair. Moments like this where coaches basically are losing their minds on the sidelines because when the ball's not going in, the question becomes, how does your team respond? And we kind of knew going into this season that this team was going to live and die from perimeter shooting in many respects. They had to find ways to score tonight. And as Coach mentioned on the outset, you're right. They started that, they started finding ways to score. Incarnate Word was very interesting in the first half. Definitely trying, I think they tried, 3-4 different types of defenses, man, a 1-3-1, a 3-2, kind of a rotating 2-3-2, a 2-3 zone as well. They really was kind of throwing the timing of IU off. And also, I mean, this was a 60 possession game, so IU is not really used to playing at this type of pace. I mean, the first few games IU's been in that 70 range of possessions. So IU really, we weren't able to kind of get the ball moving down the floor the way that I think DeVries wanted to, especially in the half court. And when your softening actions aren't really softening the defense, which at times it really wasn't against Incarnate Word, it's also hard to get that good strike. And then sometimes they were doing a pretty good job, especially late in that game, of just kind of closing off passing lanes and disrupting IU's offense. Conversely, IU did the same thing to them on defense. I felt like this was a defensive win. Back at the beginning of the season, Hooperazzi had a great question for, I was like, well, what that he posed on Twitter about 3 weeks ago. What happens when IU isn't shooting 40% plus from three? And my one word answer back to him was defend. That's all you can do is you have to just lock down on the other end and win a game that turns into a rock fight. Everyone's going to have these games against by game type opponents. The good news for IU is I think we only dropped maybe 4 or 5 spots on KenPom. So it wasn't a huge hit by any stretch of the imagination. You can recover from it. There are some things definitely to learn, especially in how they respond on nights when the perimeter shots aren't falling. I feel that they learned as the game went on. But it was, again, it was one of those nights that's a slog. It was work. The good news is the guys didn't really crack. Even when when they have wide open 3-point looks from 2 guys who were shooting 50% from 3 going into the night, these guys are missing. I mean, these looks couldn't be more open. I mean, there wasn't a guy in the area code of them, and DeVries and Wilkerson are missing from the perimeter. They turn right around and go and try and get a defensive stop. And even when Incarnate Word was hitting certain shots, there were times where it felt like Incarnate Word was hitting tough shots and IU was missing easier. We were missing more open ones. So, you have nights like this. You just hope to get out with the win. You regroup, practice the next day, learn some lessons, figure some things out, and just be glad that this type of performance happened against Incarnate Word and not, let's say, for the first time against Louisville or Kentucky or Kansas State, for that matter. That would have been a problem too, potentially.
And it's likely to happen in a game that's going to be with a more talented team, because that's just when you play 31 games, you're going to have games like that. But I agree with you. I thought defensively in the first half, Indiana did a really good job of disrupting Incarnate Word's offensive scheme. I think they only shot 20%. I think I tweeted out in the first half. And in fact, for the game, as we get to our stats later on, Incarnate Word only shoots 38 for 3. They only made 23 baskets. And I think at one point there, right at the 4-minute mark, according to the broadcasters, they were on a 10 of 12 streak. Some of those were overhelp, letting the hot kid hit some threes. But then some of them were tough contested twos. And as we mentioned in the last show, that's the kind of shot Indiana wants, is contested twos. And in the first half, they weren't going in. In the second half, they got on a run. And so I think overall the defense, I agree with you, the defense was pretty good, under 1 point per possession when you look for the total game for Incarnate Word. In fact, I'll find it here, 0.953, which is acceptable for the game. When you get there. What's not acceptable is that I think Indiana, up 19 with about 10 or 11 minutes to go, seemed to let up the gas a little bit on the defensive end. On the offensive end, and we'll talk about this when we get to our next segment, the 40 minutes in Bloomington, Incarnate Word, you have to give credit to their coach and their players. I thought they came in with an excellent game plan. They were man-to-man on misses. They were 1-3-1 on makes and dead balls. And I don't think Indiana mishandled that, but that was enough to slow down Indiana to get into a rhythm. And in fact, I thought they handled the 1-3-1 quite well. They got it in the middle. They threw a diagonal alley-oop pass. They would get it in the middle and kick it out. I thought that, again, this comes down to probably making shots for me in the first half. In the second half, I thought the ball got stuck, and I thought they weren't cutting back door. I thought Coach DeVries took a nice time out there, and they executed one of their plays where they get someone cutting to the basket. But when you have concepts, when concepts slow down, and when you count on a lot of movement, when people start standing and watching and doing those things, that's when offense can be stagnant. And I thought that happened tonight. I thought this was an offensive struggle this evening more than it was a defensive struggle overall. Real quick, before we get into actually what happened first half and second half, I just thought there were some outstanding you got to look at a game within a game too. I thought the rebounding got better in the second half. The physicality, definitely. Indiana wasn't physical on blockouts. It got better in the second half. They responded when Incarnate Word started hitting shots. Like I said in the banner moment, they came through. You don't ever want to be in those moments. Again, you want to win by 19, 20, 23 as you were expected to win. But now you can go back and show some positive things in film about how you handled some adversity within a game. And I thought Conerway was outstanding tonight in many ways, active defensively. I thought Enright got some key offensive rebounds. So, yes, this was not a fun game. This was not Indiana's best. I'm sure the coaching staff's going to have a lot to go over, but it is a win. And within the game, there were some things that went well. Any other comments before we break down into the two halves, Bob?
No, I think that's a really good way of looking at it. I do think the other big component is just when you get hit in the head and when you kind of get chipped away like that. And that was one of those games where you had some separation, and the question was going into the second half was, would IU continue to kind of keep that separation? But they got, again, it's one of those deals when your opponent knocks you down, knocks your 19-point lead down to 12, and then you kind of re-extend out to 16, and then you get knocked down to 8, and you re-extend out to 14. It's just, and at that point, the court for those players seems like it was getting smaller and smaller and smaller in their vision as the game went on. And it was good to see that IU was able to play through that and kind of work through that, and not really just kind of fold up completely, which you see teams do even in these types of bye games. You saw that they were still bringing as much effort as they could, and sometimes, and like you said, with the overhelp usually shows they're putting too much effort in, not necessarily enough. And it wasn't like they were just getting their doors blown off necessarily. There were a couple blocks that Enright had, blocking foul calls that he got that were actually, they were blocking fouls, but they were actually good calls, and a lot of it was because he was just playing so hard and trying to pressure their ball handlers. And sometimes you get beat, or sometimes they get just enough space, and then that activates your help, and then that opens that corner. And we saw that, 3 or 4 times tonight where that just got wide open. So, you got through it. That's the key. The key takeaway is we got through it.
Okay, now it's time for 40 Minutes in Bloomington, a recap of Indiana's 68-61 win by the half. Indiana, first half, it was a little dogfight for the first 8 minutes. Indiana led 13-12. After the second TV timeout, and then Indiana went on a spurt, 17-2 run to take a 28-14 lead. Again, I thought outstanding defense. All of the first half helped Indiana get up to a 16-point lead at halftime, 35-19. The concerning aspect in that first half was there were 5 offensive rebounds in the first 7 or 8 minutes. That's going to be an issue for Indiana. I thought they lacked physicality. And, Coach, comment on the fact that it's not just physicality, but then you got to go get the basketball. I thought there were times where they did block out, but they got outworked for, those rebounds early. The rebounds evened out over, the scope of the game, or the entirety of the game. Indiana out-rebounds Incarnate Word. But I thought that first they weren't really locked in defensive rebounding there in the first 8 minutes.
No, not even close. One thing that I was kind of noticing earlier was, even when Sam Alexis came in for Reed Bailey, bigger body, more physical player, even he wasn't initiating early contact when the shot went up. And, you could kind of see the other guys kind of got his arm into him, and he's establishing position. Alexis wasn't getting into position early enough, as you're mentioning, and that's a key point. I think the other thing I noticed as the game went on, IU changed how their bigs were the blockout angle, and so many times you just say, "Well, block a guy out." Well, we teach our kids what direction are we trying to put them, and especially with big guys, oftentimes what you're really trying to do if you're a kid like a Sam Alexis is you're trying to prevent your guy from being in that defensive or offensive rebounding position. The best place to put him is on the baseline. So if you change your blockout angle from going from the basically the tape or the nail or that help position to the sideline, versus maybe moving it to a 45 or even a 45 plus degree angle and putting them on the baseline. That's critical in keeping it open then for the rest of your team to be able to go and secure the defensive rebound. One thing that helped with that as time went on was when Trent Sisley got into the game, and we can't say enough about Trent Sisley in that first half, I don't think. He got in there, and I think he had like 5 rebounds in 5 minutes and ended on I think it was 8 or 9 on the night. We'll talk more about as we go to individual players. But some of that's also caused by the fact that now you have Sam Alexis, who's not really trying to force his guy out. He's now being able to put that guy on the baseline, seal him off, and then allow your guards and your wings to be able to go and get the rebounds that the big oftentimes is looking to get. And it also allows him to get defensive rebounding position in that situation a different way, so he can go get the rebound, which, again, I think he ended up with a pretty good rebounding night as well. So there were some subtleties there on the rebounding end that I would be interested to see how IU does that as the season continues.
You want to do that, and you want to keep the main offensive rebounding threat of the other team off, and then you need good guard rebounding. We've talked about this for years. Tonight, Conerway has 6 rebounds. Enright has 6 rebounds. So that's the kind of numbers that you want. Obviously, Alexis and Sisley coming into the game, as you mentioned, really changed that around. And I think it was the 5:30 mark, Sisley had some offensive 3 offensive rebounds, or he hit the glass really hard. I thought he was a big factor in stretching out that lead in the first half. A couple things else there. I talked about the lob to Alexis. I thought Indiana's 1-3-1 offense was really, really good. And fans got to understand, too, you can run good offense and miss shots. When you have a bad offensive night, it doesn't mean the offense is badly structured or the scheme was bad. Offense is a really tough thing sometimes, and we have guys that have shown that they're going to have a lot of good nights more than bad nights. Tonight was just an off night shooting the basketball, but they got the ball inside at the free throw line, at the nail. That's where you want to attack from. They scored down low off of that. They kicked it out for a 3. They went over the top. I've seen them ball screen sometimes up at the top of the 1-3-1. So you're seeing a variety of things tonight against that 1-3-1. And in fact, they didn't play it after a while. They just used that to kind of change the pace. And I thought you got to give Incarnate Word a lot of credit. At the I think under the 8 timeout, they came out, they had the ball, and they ran a set to post up Enright with one of their larger or bigger guards. And so those are the kinds of things. When you're watching an opposing coach, yes, we should have won by 20 points or more, as Ken Palm said, but that coach has done a good thing, and they've gotten better every year down there, and they did some good things that really put Indiana back on their heels, and I'm sure Coach DeVries isn't happy about that, nor should we be, but a little bit of credit goes to Conerway. Indiana has that 17-2 run, which probably wins the basketball game when you look at what happened in the second half. Takes the lead at 28-14. It was 31-17 going into the last segment of play, the under 4-minute timeout. Coach, there were a couple missed dunks, and there were a couple missed layups tonight. And, again, I think the concentration level, these are good kids. They're going to play good basketball here, but those are the types of plays when you get to attack the rim and get baskets there. If you're going to play 3 and rim and free throw, you got to make shots most of the nights to win. Indiana didn't make those shots, and they didn't make threes, and they missed some easy shots there in the first half.
One thing we knew about some of these guys coming in, and Lamar Wilkerson being one of them, their rim finishing. If you guys go on Torvik, for example, you can look back at Lamar Wilkerson at the rim, at mid-range, and from 3, and you get a general idea that was a weakness for this group coming in. You don't really have an above-the-rim player. I mean, that's why, again, you missed 2 or 3 dunks off of what were really good lob passes. You don't really have that element to the game built into this team yet. It was a trade-off early on. So Darian DeVries could have looked for that versus sacrificing shooting. Well, he wanted to play a game that was more open, more spaced, that would actually, how you mitigate that in many respects is if you have solid perimeter shooting like IU does, that makes your looks inside should theoretically be more open looks, not as contested, especially after they move the help as much as IU is able to move help, move tags, that sort of area in those areas. But I think the big key, I'm glad you brought up that Enright post up, because actually I think IU got a defensive stop on that. So that was something.
But it was a good action.
Oh, a great action.
Yeah.
If you win an easy bucket, you get Enright. You put Connor Enright in a mismatch situation, which he was on pretty much all night with the height situation, and you try to get that layup, or you try to get just that easy post move to try to get yourself back on track and back moving offensively. But it was a weakness kind of with this group coming in. It's going to be a weakness that's going to be exploited throughout the season. So you're just going to have to find ways to kind of scheme through it, play through it, work through it. It's just one of those things where tonight, almost kind of bit you. But, you really weren't expecting a night where both the going to the rim game, the free throws, and the three-point shooting, all three simultaneously had problems. I live in a world now where Tucker DeVries missed a two-shot foul, missed both on a two-shot. I didn't know if that was possible or not. Well, now I know it's possible. Anything's possible, but it was just one of those things that it's like I wouldn't. If I were doing FanDuel, I wouldn't be betting on that. I'll tell you that much. So that was just one of those things. One of those nights where a lot of things just aren't going right. And interesting point about scheme. I wanted to talk real quick about that 1-3-1 and what they were doing against that zone. You'll hear a lot of coaches talk about, well, just get your big guy up there to kind of just work, up to the elbows to kind of work that middle. IU did something very interesting in theirs. They actually didn't use their big. What they did was they used Enright and Conerway, and they put them in the middle to basically play make out of the middle of that zone. So, that 1-3-1, you break that top down. Well, they would slide Enright or slide Conerway in there. Boom, hit him. And one time Conerway got it, one dribble up for an easy layup, because they're so focused on. And this is where, again, having DeVries and Wilkerson, even though I have an off shooting night, made so many big differences for IU. That creates space in the interior. So a possession where you get the ball to the middle of that zone and Conerway can just take one dribble, bounce it in, and you hit the layup is critical and is capable, because you actually now have that perimeter presence, which we know in the last decade, IU really hasn't had that similar perimeter presence, which meant you had a packed lane, and those types of basket opportunities weren't available. So I thought it was an interesting wrinkle in how he ran his zone offense, because I've heard Coach Ferguson here at Columbus North talks about it all the time, that you put your best ball handler in the middle of the zone and see what they can do. And if you can do that, and they're effective there, they can move the ball to the right location. And, that also means that you're big. If you're running a one big offense like IU is, you can put them on that opposite baseline and that dunker spot. And if that help comes over, you've got dunks. And I think they had a couple of those too out of that zone. One they had against, there was one where didn't Conerway just lob it up to Alexis, and he just right off the backside of that. I mean, it was about a 25-foot pass. It was perfectly placed.
Yeah. It was, I have written down in my notes that Conerway was all over the place in the first half. He brings a lot. I think he brings a lot of energy. I thought he did. He ends up with we'll talk stats later, but 7 assists, 6 rebounds. I thought he was a key in Indiana's 16-point lead. We also have to remember that at 13:06, Wilkerson picks up a phantom second foul. I thought the officials missed that one, and then he sat. But DeVries doesn't sit him all the time. He brought him back in, offense for defense in that first half. But you have your second leading scorer out. And we need to remember, too, Indiana was up 16 at halftime, and I thought played really, really good defense. I have written down great disruption of Incarnate Word's flow with great ball pressure and intensity. So you said something that's really key in basketball. What kind of team are you when the shots aren't going in? And I thought for 30 minutes, Indiana was a solid team when the shots weren't going in. I thought they got a little bit complacent when they were up 19 with 10 or 11 minutes to go, like the game was over. And I think they lost their intensity. And if I were Coach DeVries, I'd probably focus on that defensive end, 30 minutes of outstanding defense and 10 minutes of not very intense, focused defense. We'll talk about that here in the second half. But Indiana's up 16. They were favored to win by 23. If you have a second half like that, you extend your expectations. So, the game got close, and it was a little nerve-wracking for all of us, but there was a lot of good basketball embedded in that, and the bad basketball comes here in the second half of the second half. I think the key thing for Incarnate Word as we transition out of the second half was I thought they came out again very aggressive in the first half, and they cut that 16-point lead down to 50-36 with 12 minutes to go. So they were playing well, but really not getting if they cut it to single digits early in the second half, I think the ball game's different. And then from that point on, Coach, 9:04, I think Coach could start telling that things were kind of just not the way they should be. He calls timeout. Indiana gets a back cut because their movement, off-ball movement, wasn't very good. And I see some people there that were wondering why Conerway dribbles all the time. Well, he dribbles all the time because offense isn't working and no one's moving and cutting the way they want to. So don't put that all on like Conerway's being selfish. Conerway has the ball, and if he can't go anywhere with it, but he takes a timeout at 9:04. And that's important to me because he knew that this team wasn't playing as well as they should be, especially offensively. Got a back cut, and the lead goes up to 19. And again, we are 4 points away from expectations with about 8 or 9 minutes to go. And the teaching point for me with this ball club, if I'm in that locker room, is you got to finish even when you're up 19. And I think Indiana let off the gas a little too early in tonight's effort. And all of a sudden, it's a 6-point game at 5:38 because they started giving up threes because they weren't, playing great defense. And then Incarnate Word got the momentum, and that's where the banner moment kicks in. Indiana started answering and got it back up to 10, and then it got back down to 5, and we were able to hold on. So to me, the concern or the struggle was the last 8 or 9 minutes of basketball. The first 30 minutes, we missed shots. Everything was on track for having the game of the way it should be. And then the last 8 or 9 minutes, the focus, the intensity kind of waned, and Incarnate Word got hot, and that's where the game got tight. Any thoughts along about the second half action?
Yeah, that Wilkerson play you're talking out of timeout was I had that as a notable moment because I felt like that was great design, great scheme, getting him going, getting him off of cuts. The penetration really wasn't there, the shooting wasn't there, and to be honest, I mean, we know Incarnate Word was really pressuring IU, especially around the perimeter, and really, again, disrupting. We were talking about, their disruption. They were disrupting IU's flow of their offense, which made it hard for IU to get that one dribble sidestep three-pointer that Wilkerson loves to be able to shoot. He couldn't get that. So they went ahead and schemed him in a way to get him a screen, back cut, boom, easy. He got his layup. And then they went down. They're up 19, and Sicily was out of position just enough for, I believe it was the one kid that was drilling shots all night. And he went out. The kid got the ball, shot it. Sicily closed out, fouled him, created a 4-point play. So
yeah, what would that make the score? That got it down into single digits, didn't it?
Well, 19-15, because you said after that Wilkerson ATO, that was what you were talking about. That was at the 9-minute mark. Yeah, that was right. That right after it, Sicily gives up and not Sicily, but the defense gives up a 4-point play. Sicily on that closeout fouls the kid, fouls basically their best shooter, and it's not. Again, it's one of those things where teams have to be cautious with resultism, meaning they're looking at their result. And I know, Coach, I don't know how many times you've had to do this and look at a group of kids and be like, be in the possession, stay in the position you're playing. Quit looking at the scoreboard. Quit thinking about where you are at this moment. It happens even with veteran teams, very good teams that you love. They still will do that from time to time. We're like, okay, well, we're up 19 with like 8:30 to go. We got Wilkerson going off that layup, and they have just a bit of a lapse. And then that lapse continues to grow, and it grows, and it grows. And all of a sudden, it's almost like a bit of a bubble pops. And we saw that a bit, again, in that second half, where then all of a sudden it's like, well, now they've got the momentum. They believe it's possible. And I know, Coach, you are a man of great culture and refinement. You know what I'm going to talk about here.
Not really.
Yeah, but if I mention Rocky 1 going into the final round, when Creed is sitting there all sprawled out on the thing, and he sees Balboa stumbling up, busted all the tomorrow, and he stands up, and you just see Creed give that big sigh, resigned that he's going to have to fight the 15th round. That's that's that feeling that I'm talking about, that moment I'm talking about, that you can encapsulate in what we saw tonight, which was, wait a minute, these guys haven't gone away yet. They're supposed to be put to bed. Why are they still playing so hard?
That's a key segment there that I went back to the play-by-play. that you get a back cut. It was 14 when the timeout was called.
14, okay.
At 9:07, right? One of their kids hits the three-pointer. It was 17 with 10 minutes to go. And then Harrison Reed hits one 50-36. Coach calls timeout. Get a backdoor cut for a layup 52-36. And then that's when the 4-point play cuts it down to 12.
Yep.
Right. And that right there, that's 8:35 at 12. And that's what gave Incarnate Word a lot of momentum. And then Indiana started missing free throws. And then, 3-point jumpers cut it down to 8 with 6:50 to go. One made free throw, just the last 8 minutes got off the gas a little bit there in the second half.
Watching Coach DeVries, Coach Johnson, watching that bench, and watching for the first time, I think, in all of the games that we've seen, I don't remember a time where they've had to try to manufacture energy from the bench, where they're clapping and they're intense and they're really kind of vocally getting into this, and in a way that you could always tell they're into it. But it's what I mean is they were just directly trying to push them over the finish line. I don't want to use that term. Push them over the finish line to get them to that point where it's like we know that this team has got that we're going to have to kind of just help these guys through this, because now everything's kind of just it could easily go the other direction and in a way that we don't want it to go.
Yeah, and tonight, like I said, up until that 8 or 9 minute mark, Indiana was so the way you wanted this to play,
they responded.
Yeah,
they responded to everyone.
The way you wanted to finish this game was when you're up 16 with 8 minutes to go, you could exchange a few baskets, whatever, hit your free throws, win by 20-22. That is what the Ken Pom expectation was. And that's why, yes, we fell from Ken Pom to 18-22 or 17-22 because of these results. And Ken Pom's still early. We shouldn't get too excited about the jump up or the drops in any of these games. But that's why it didn't fall as much. And because for 30 minutes, it was right in line, despite not being able to shoot both from the free throw line, missing a few layups and dunks. Like, it was a bad shooting performance tonight. I don't know if it was a horribly bad execution night. Maybe the last 6 or 7 minutes defensively and offensively, again, that's where I would say Indiana played bad basketball, was in the last 6 or 7
horribly
minutes.
Inconsistent, just horribly inconsistent. Yeah. And that was in that again, you're kind of looking at this going, you're just like kind of, it's like now you're watching the air leave the balloon. Similar thing was when we saw this in the Baylor game, by the way, when IU kind of tried to take the air out of it in that last 3 minute, in that last 4 minute segment. It was a very similar feel I had during that game also, watching the net exhibition, where IU just kind of completely got out of it, moving the ball, less moving themselves, and much more. What would you call it? Just kind of trying to plow through the last, that last segment. And but the good news, again, like we said, good news is you came out with the win. It was an 8-point win. It wasn't like they beat you on the last second. It wasn't like they had a last second shot to get within one or something. And the Ken Pom, I totally agree. It's like it's less to kind of freak about, more it is just to kind of be observant that as much as you might, early in the season, you're going to see these kind of quick drops or quick hits. But I mean, I think that's about where IU is right now, is in that sort of 15 to 25 range. In any given night, they can move well within that.
And so
at this point,
the last segment, we talked about it in the banner moment, but I thought it was really good. This is the first time this team has faced, late game adversity, if you will. I thought Conerway had a great drive for 2 to go back up 9. Then DeVries has a pull-up jumper. All of this is being answered a little bit by Incarnate Word. DeVries hits a big 3 with 2:15. And then he gets an ISO play. They call a timeout to get an ISO play for DeVries, and he that's when he missed the 2 free throws. So there was really good execution down the stretch on the offensive end at about the last 2 minutes to answer that run. And again, by this time, Incarnate Word got really hot, and they weren't missing. The running pull-up banker 2 to keep them in the game. Like at that point, they're throwing things in off their forehead and it's going in. That's what happens when you let teams back in the game. So that segment from 8 to 2 minutes, that's the big teaching point, I think, in the locker room. Going
Gotta
forward.
finish.
But
Gotta finish.
Yeah,
I will say one more quick thing on that before real quick. After DeVries missed those 2 free throws, they had an amazing lockdown defensive possession where Incarnate Word shot an air ball 3. IU gets the ball back, and that's when the fouling started. And that to me, it's like, okay, so at least this team can respond and recover quickly after an adverse event. That it wasn't like, I don't feel like we're ever going to feel like this team is completely melted down like we've seen, and like every team's capable of doing. You may see it, I'm not sure, but I have a feeling this team's going to continue to try to compete, every game, every possession. I just have a feeling that that's going to be the culture of this program, is that, okay, we just try to go into the next thing.
So we will end this segment here as Indiana wins 68-61, a lot closer down the stretch, but I think the first 30 minutes were very acceptable basketball and nothing to be too worried about. But make sure you go to assemblycall.com and subscribe to our free email newsletter, and we'll continue the breakdown here, and we'll point out our Hall of a Moment from today's game and some stat sheet stories. Well, you're listening to the Assembly Call. Stick with us.
Hi, this is AJ Moye. What's the only thing better than upsetting Duke in the Sweet 16? Celebrating it with friends afterwards. Join Jared, Andy, Ryan, and Coach for the Assembly Call after every IU basketball game. Go Hoosiers!
You're listening to the Assembly Call IU postgame show. I'm the host, Coach Tonsoni, here with Coach Bob Moats. We're breaking down Indiana's win over Incarnate Word 68-61. And now it's time for today's Hall of a Moment, or Hall of a Moments. Key moments made a difference during the game. And Bob, I'm going to start off with Tucker DeVries in the first half. Got an offensive rebound, dribbled out to 3 and hit a 3. Like that, again, I think this is a kind of team that when we have a tough night like tonight score-wise, we still should really enjoy this team and the way that they play. I thought that was a moment for me that really kind of explains what we're going to see this year, and it's not all going to be perfect. For those of you in the chat that are naysaying, you have your right to say that. We're 4-0 and we're playing basketball. When you get an offensive rebound, you dribble out and shoot a 3. I'm here for that all day. I thought that was one of my Hall of a Moments. Bob, over to you for any moments for you.
My mom just flew back out of Barcelona 36 hours ago, and she brought Spain action with her. Did you see that to start the game?
Yeah,
we've been begging for Spain action.
Bailey Bloomington
for the
I have it written down.
Yeah, that was like I'm like wow. And that's just to start the game off, and it just kind of had that feel of like wow, that was something we've not seen a whole lot of at IU. Bailey had a ton of space to work with there in that situation. I would so I would say one of those moments from the get-go is to start a game like that, and it's going to be interesting to see. Okay, so they start that Spain and to see what they do with DeVries coming off that, because the next coach is going to be like, okay, we got to close off that level 2 action. Here's our level 3, and it's going to be DeVries popping up for a 3-point shot, and then watch what happens as they get another one going. Yeah.
For those of you who might not know what Spain action is, Bailey sets a ball screen for the point guard. I think it was Conerway at that point. Yep. And then after he sets the ball screen, DeVries sets a back screen for the big, which was Reed Bailey. And what makes that really good action is that you're not leaving Tucker DeVries, because if you help on the back screen, then DeVries is going to step out and get a wide open 3. So, you know, it's the first play of the game, and your coach has been telling you, do not leave DeVries, do not leave DeVries. And DeVries sets a screen for a lob for Bailey to get a dunk. I thought it was a really good way to start. And again, I will point out that that's the kind of stuff that you will see Coach DeVries draw up. He has a whole bunch of stuff in his playbook, but using your best shooter and your best scorer as a screener is a concept that we have not seen at Indiana for a while. And that should give everyone who's rooting for Indiana, some enjoyment that, hey, we're going to figure this out. We're going to put people in the best positions as possible, and most nights it will work out. But yeah, that Spain action was really good. I do want to talk about rebounding because it's going to be a pain in the butt forever. But you mentioned Sisley. Let's talk a little bit about Sisley. He had a lot of moments tonight, and I think he's just going to be one of those guys that we're going to like to play. But I thought he was really solid rebounding, ends up with 8. Your thoughts on Trent's game tonight?
Trent's game, I mean, it was a great spark coming off the bench. I mean, and both Trent and Sam Alexis both coming in at that moment, they kind of started the fuel of the fire, so to speak. But what Sisley kind of brought was just more, I guess more aggressiveness. I can't remember if I think they brought him in for Conerway first, give Conerway a blow, then grabbed Emright after that and left Sisley in. And it just kind of gave IU with Wilkerson, Sisley, and DeVries, all 3 in the game, along with Alexis, a little more beef, a little more mass to be able to kind of hold them off the boards. Incarnate Word was coming out aggressive. They were coming out very physical, and I think it kind of caught IU a little by surprise on the defensive end. And Sisley just kind of held the line, got the rebound, got those boards. Quince where I missed a shot, and Sisley jumped in, kind of was able to get one offensive rebound. I think DeVries got one offensive rebound. I think Alexis got the third one. They got a second chance basket off of it. And that was the first time in the game where IU really just seemed to attack the boards on the offensive end. So Sisley just brought that sort of brought that physicality that they were missing so much early on in the game, and flipped it around. Plus the kid hit some huge shots tonight. Second half hit a big 3. First half hit one. Had one off of a off ball screen where they get, again, like we're talking with DeVries. You bring DeVries up, and there's a little bit of confusion, and then we have a guy slip into the basket. There he was, and got the nice angled pass off of basically just off of a rim run, and hit the reverse layup, and just got points in a situation where we have not seen a whole lot of that. Usually it's always primary option. And now when you have split actions and you can start getting secondary options where you have one guy going low, one guy going high, it makes it very, very hard to defend. And especially when it's coming on that weak side where that now what you're doing, or even where you're trying to break up the help a little bit. Now all of a sudden now it's just broken up the help. There's no help available. There's nobody behind him.
Yeah. I was really impressed with Sisley, not only tonight, but what else he's done. And then I think Alexis also brought some intensity when he came in the game. That was much needed after only being up 1 with 8 minutes to go. Well, I'm sure we'll probably talk about him in a segment to come. But another hall of a moment is a couple shot clock violations too.
Yeah,
one at 7:17 in the first half. Another one like 15-minute mark, 14-minute mark of the second half. Again, that I thought they were in great stances and. Talk a little bit to our listeners how they go over screens, and that's a strategy that DeVries is probably not wanting to give up a lot of threes. And because we go over flare screens, we go over pin downs for the most part, and we go over ball screens unless we're a little late and then we're third man through or go under. But most of the time we're going over trying to disrupt any handoffs, any of those passes to pin screen cutters, and we're forcing curls and we're forcing in the lane. And sometimes you get caught up and they'll take an elbow jumper or they'll get some penetration off that. But you know this, and we really want our listeners to know this. When you design a defense, you're going to probably give up stuff, right? It's very hard to defend every single action against any team at any level of play. And it's so far it seems like they're trying to guard the 3-point line, which is why the last 8 minutes was a little disappointing. But for the majority of the game, their theory is to go over screens. Explain how you look at that.
How I look at it, there's another reason too, because if you're going over that screen, and then you also have, even in some drop coverage, the ability for that person not to, that initial ball handler not to turn the corner or to snake dribble their way through. Now you're pushing them off the perimeter even further to allow for not just to cover the 3-point shot, but to push them further away from the basket. they do that. I think they blow up literally every handoff that's given.
Yeah.
So if someone's going for a handoff, and what do I mean by blowing it up? They're getting right up to the recipient, and they're getting between the recipient and the handoff, and they're forcing that guy further and further away, which takes away a primary action, which takes away a primary activity, and forces that defense, that offense, their offense further and further away from the basket. When you don't have rim protection, that early harassment, that early disruption makes all the difference in the world to prevent someone from getting downhill on you. Because I think the way that they're going over screens and the way they're deploying their help, including strong side help that kind of hedges over for a moment, they're doing a wonderful job of just kind of keeping teams and forcing them. Okay, you want to settle for a 15-footer? Fine. Well, let's just settle for a 15-footer. You want to settle for an 18-footer? We'll give that to you literally all day long. So that, I think the way that they're doing this is it's a way of kind of masking that lack of rim protection that IU has. You also saw tonight, Sam Alexis can guard perimeter pretty effectively. We know Reed Bailey can guard perimeter pretty effectively. So if they do get in a switch situation, they at least can guard there for 3 to 5 seconds and not get blown by. You couldn't say the same thing about, let's say, Omer Ballo last year or Joey Brunk 6 years ago, that if they were caught out with a guard on them, there was a good chance that was just that was going to go past them too quickly. They just didn't have that sort of game to be able to stop that perimeter driver as effectively. We have bigs that can actually do that.
Yeah, and we emergency switch too at times when you do get caught up in a handoff or a ball screen. You do see some emergency switching, and that has to be aggressive. Yeah, they got to communicate it, be aggressive, and let each other know. But that's another way to try to play post defense when we start seeing a big, 7-foot post player. Well, it'll be interesting to see, do we double? Do we what your rotations are off of that? We haven't seen that yet. But when you push the defense back and when you blow up handoffs and blow up ball screens, you push them back a little bit more. And now that pass into the post is a little longer. If you are sprinting on airtime, which we always tell our defenders, sprint on airtime of the pass. Well, now if the pass is 5 feet longer because of your ball pressure, you can get into whatever your designed a post defense is against someone who is going to be a little more dominant versus Indiana. So we're starting to see the philosophy of what he wants to do. And you'll get beat when you can't contain the bounce and when people hit mid-range shots and if you give up rebounds. And Indiana had a little bit of that issue tonight. But defensively, I thought they were pretty good. But, Coach, let's take a look at a few stat sheet stories from tonight's game. And as we go inside the numbers, this segment is brought to you by Jackson Hewitt Tax Services. If you live in Bloomington or the surrounding areas and you want your taxes done right, contact our friend and Chat Mob Hall of Famer Megan Mahaffey and her team in Bloomington, Bedford, and Martinsville by calling 812-339-3334 or by visiting jacksonhewitt.com. Coach, I'll send it to you. What numbers are you looking at this evening?
Well, I'll go to my usual one of hustle points, which is points off turnovers as well as second chance points. IU is only +5 tonight. And that, we've seen in some other games that they were in those double digits in those areas. So they're really not. They did win second chance points. They also won points off turnovers, but it was also one of those things where they weren't getting that usual separation they were looking at on those types of hustle plays. I'd also throw out that, Incarnate Word had 5 offensive rebounds to start the game. They ended the game with 8. So IU did.
That got so much better in the second half.
It became an emphasis point. And you could tell that, and I think coming out of that under 12 timeout, it became an emphasis point. And I think the exact words I would have used, and I think you would say, this is the worst offensive rebounding team in the country, and they've got 5 on you. What the heck are we doing out here? I don't think I'd say heck. Well, I would say heck because I coach 12-year-olds. But what the heck are we doing out here? This is the worst. We are physically better than them. Why are you letting them beat you up like this? And I think that they got into a little bit on that reverse.
Shot 54% in the second half, so there weren't as many rebounds to have if we're being honest. But I do think we got more physical. I think
Very true.
We did get more physical. I'm going to take one now, and then if you have more, we'll come back to you. But to me, this game, there's a lot to improve upon, obviously, a lot to improve on, and we focus on that last end of the game. But Incarnate Word scored .953 points per possession, despite going, I think, 12 of 15 or 16 down the stretch. Mm-hmm. So a really solid defensive effort for those 30-some minutes until that hot streak, took it down from 19 to 5, and then ended up at a 7-point lead. But, you look at those numbers, and again, I think that's in the ballpark. As I look at that more than points given up, I saw someone said giving up 61 to Incarnate Word, and you're never going to make the tournament giving up that many points. I think that's misguided, to be honest. I thought this was a defensive win, and when you also only shoot when Indiana only hits 5 threes. So they were 20.8% from three. We know they're a better shooting team. I'm not sure they're 50% all the time like we have seen somewhat, but they should fall in the 45% range. They normally would have had 3 or 4 more looks. DeVries misses an open look. Free throws, again, down just below 70%. This team missed 8 free throws. Tonight was a bad shooting night. For whatever reason. If it was concentration, then the coach will get on them. If it was just something in the air and they missed. But you will have that. You know that players don't go out to miss shots. Sometimes you just miss them. And you want to try to put that in perspective. You're still over 1 point per possession on probably one of the worst shooting nights you'll see from this team. What else stands out to you number-wise, Coach?
Once again, we had it looks like 18 assists on 23 makes, and then 11 second chance points. So you had a pretty good day there with just from moving the ball, even on a night where we really weren't moving it all that effectively. I would also, about the 61 points, I think it's also worth noting that we held Milwaukee, and again, it was a 71 possession game versus 60. It was 64 according to Ken Palm. We held them to 70. So Milwaukee scored more points than Incarnate Word did. So looking at that scoreboard difference, I mean, had IU shot 30% from three, we would feel much better right now. Had IU had been 9 versus 5, that's a 9 times 3 or 5, 4 times 3, 12. That additional 12 points puts you to 20 points. We're all feeling a little better about the world at that moment. You can kind of get wrapped up too much in the stat sheet in that regard, but I do think that you still saw a lot of good with this, and you still saw that they were kind of able to work their way around it. IU also, I mean, they did give, I think, I was just going to say quickly, the bench points were pretty critical. 26 of their points came from the bench, 26 of 69. And mostly that was DeVries and, Sicily and Alexis. But, on a night where Wilkerson and DeVries both were not at the level that we're used to seeing them at, at this night, you were able to generate offense from different sources on the floor.
Wilkerson doesn't hit a 3, and he sat out a lot in the first half. I don't think we'll see that very often. DeVries was 3 of 11. I want to, you have Enright and Conerway combined for 12 assists. 12 assists and only 3 turnovers. That's a 4-to-1 ratio for your main ball handlers. I think that continuing with, we were like 73 out of 100 and some made baskets. We've assisted on 73 of them. That's been going around social media. I saw Illinois win a game. They only had 5 assists for the whole game. Right. Again, style. We're trying to figure out the style and watch the style of a new coach and new players. I think we share the basketball. And the other thing is we are concerned. The game started off horribly with 5 offensive rebounds, and everyone's concerned about that. And I still think, Coach, that'll be an area of concern going up against Michigan and Mara and some of those big guys. But you had 5 rebounds. Tucker DeVries, 5. Conerway, point guard, 6. Enright, point guard, 6. Sam Alexis, 8. Sicily off the bench in 20 minutes with 8 rebounds. So you know that the coaching staff is emphasizing it. You know at halftime when it flipped 17-12 in rebounding in favor of Indiana, that was an emphasis. You only gave up 2 offensive rebounds. Again, inside the game, I like the way they respond at halftime. I like the way they respond out of timeouts. I think those are good signs that you can take away from here. Anything else stat-wise before we move on?
No, I would just say, a lot. Again, there's a lot to kind of look at that to kind of say that they showed some things that we were hoping they would see on a night when they weren't shooting the ball well at all. And by this case, this is about as bad of a shooting night I think you're going to see from this team, honestly.
Yeah, let's hope so.
Okay, yeah,
but again, I've said this early, and if it's an overreaction, I will own it. I enjoyed tonight. I was a little stressed out the last 4 minutes. The heart rate got going a little more. I didn't want to do that on a Sunday night. So I'm not going to sit here and say that I was overly pleased with the end result. If I were and you and I run the coaching staff, tomorrow morning we'd be focusing on the 9-minute mark of the second half and breaking down all of the things that we did incorrectly and let a team get a little life, right? And that would be the major lesson. But I think you got to look at some of the system, some of the coming out of timeouts, coming out of halftime, responding within the game to things that weren't going well. I think so far this year at 4-0, Indiana is doing a lot of those things. But coming up on the assembly call, we'll hand out our awards for the game ball and Hoosier Hustle, and we'll look ahead to Indiana's upcoming opponent. That's all next here on the assembly call. So stick with us.
This is Nick Zeislov. I never miss an open three, and I never miss an episode of the Assembly Call.
You are listening to the Assembly Call IU Postgame Show. I'm the coach, Brian Tonsoni. I'm here with the coach, Bob Moats. We're breaking down Indiana's 68-61 victory over Incarnate Word, which moves Indiana to 4-0 in the DeVries era. It's now time for our game ball presentation, and it is presented by our friends Allie and James at Bloom Environmental. And at Bloom Environmental, they provide expert radon, mold, asbestos, and crawl space solutions to protect homes and improve indoor air quality. Call today for a free estimate and mention Assembly Call and get 10% off your system. I'm telling you, Allie's one of the nicest human beings you'll ever see. So you ought to call Bloom Environmental just to interact with Allie. It'll make your day. But you can learn more about what they provide at www.bloomenviro.com. All right, Coach. Interesting game tonight. Some of our better players didn't get the stats. A wide array of things that went well individually. Where are you going with your game ball?
Sam Alexis. He came in, righted the ship offensively, found point production from a big at a time where we needed it. Was at 1.4 for 4 on dunks. I think all of his baskets at one point were all on slam dunks coming out of that two-man game. Had he not been doing those things as effectively, you don't see Conerway being able to drive the lane as effectively as he did throughout the game as well. And in a game where they were clearly taking away level 3, which is basically in a ball screen or a handoff action. Level 1 is the ball handler or that kind of the guard in that situation. Level 2 is the guy moving to the basket who creates a screen or initiates the handoff. Level 3 is everybody else. And all night long, Incarnate Word was very interested in not being killed by Lamar Wilkerson or Tucker DeVries. And when Alexis comes in, and Bailey did a little bit of this too, but Alexis in particular, just getting down into the paint, getting slams, was very effective in the post also. In post feeds and moving the ball out when he needed to and getting it to the right person. And defensively just did a wonderful job, whether he's guarding his guy or he's in help defense or he was kind of helping off on a ball handler. Felt like Alexis had one of his better games, but probably his best game so far as a Hoosier.
I'm also going to go with Sam Alexis. I agree with Justin Beard in the chat. This game might have been even a worse conversation afterwards if it wasn't Alexis. I thought the game kind of turned, and nothing against Reed Bailey. I thought he got us off to a good start with that Spain action dunk. But I thought the rebounding was a struggle, and I thought Alexis comes in, his 8 rebounds. He got an assist, 1 block. 6 of 8 from the free throw line, 5 of 7 from the field for 16 points. Did lead Indiana in scoring tonight. That's not a criteria necessarily for the game ball. I think his overall play is why he deserves the game ball. Really impressed with what he does for this Indiana basketball team. So updated game ball totals. DeVries leads with 2, and then Alexis, Wilkerson, Conerway, and Sisley all have a game ball so far. Just like the offense getting spread around, the game balls here are getting spread around. We really like that. Coach, now coming back to you for Hoosier Hustle Award. And before I ask you to give yours, Sam, I thought there were 4 players that rightfully could get this award as I was watching the game. We just took away one of them because our rule is you can't get the game ball and the Hustle Award. I thought Sam Alexis brought a lot of energy and intensity to the floor tonight. That leaves 3 others. I'm going to name them, and you can go somewhere else with that. And then I will come back with mine.
Can I guess yours? Can I guess yours?
Well, when it gets time. Hold on there, son. Enright, I think you can go Sisley, and I think you can go Conerway. Anyway, any of those 3 would be very deserving young men for our Hoosier Hustle Award. Are you going one of those 3, or are you going to go off the board?
Those were my 3. I was going to guess your 3. That's what I was trying to get to because I
thought you were going to guess who I was going to go. All right, I'll tell you. You can guess who I'm going to go afterwards.
I will try that, but this is hard. I ducked in the chat for a minute, and I'm going to go ahead and knock Conerway off. I'm just going to knock Conerway off my list, just not for no other reason. I felt like the other 2, it was a spark when they added a different type of spark that you expect from a hustle type player. I'm going to go with Enright, other than Sisley, because Sisley was critical. I cannot emphasize enough how critical Trent Sisley was coming in off the bench. What I will say is Connor Enright for the entire game provided spark plays. And it's things as simple as I mentioned the blocks earlier, those blocking fouls. One of them was a great foul. I mean, the guy had the angle. He just got in the way. And, yeah, it could have gone either direction. Yeah, the guy had his shoulder lowered. He was still moving into position. Referees call those all the time one way or the other. And he didn't get a hometown call. And, yeah, he was frustrated with the foul call, but he prevented what could have been an easy layup or worse yet, a help side that would have kicked out to a 3. That the offensive rebound off of a DeVries miss. Tucker DeVries is not supposed to miss that open of a 3-point shot. I could see a player thinking, okay, DeVries is shooting it. I'm going to worry. No, I'm supposed to go back on defense. Enright just ducked in the lane, got the rebound, and put it back up and in. The time of the game it was critical for IU to be producing points. So it's plays like that I thought jumped in. But I think, any other time, if you could split the award 3 ways, you hit the 3 guys easily. I mean, Conerway had a great – he had missed a lob dunk to Alexis. He goes back as a deflection. Sisley with the rebounding work and defensive work, throughout the game was impressive. But I think for consistent hustle, for what appears to be, let me just give you the minute figure on Connor Enright, 33 minutes in the game, and he did everything but score. So Connor Enright.
Dang, this is not easy. Chat loves Sisley, man. And
I know,
my dude Dalton O'Boyle.
Right.
Dalton's in there. I really like Dalton. He's a good dude, and he said Sisley. I was leaning Conerway, but then I heard your explanation. Conerway has 7 assists, 3 blocks. Sisley with 8 rebounds. Now, if I go Enright, we're going to give it to Enright because it'd be both of you. If I go Sisley, I think this chat has already voted for Sisley. So, Chad, if you're in there real quick, throw up a Sisley or an Enright. I'm going to go Trent Sisley tonight just to give the chat something to talk about here. Eddie, if you could count those up, go back a few because they're already talking about Sisley up above a little bit. But Enright or Sisley, your vote, chat mob. Here we go. There's my guy Dalton. Very good.
I see. Yeah, I see a few Enrights in here too. So this could be. We can't split the award, can we? We
like Dragons need to be real. Saying hi, everyone. But you're supposed to vote, Dragon. Oh, he did. Enright. I saw that. Very good.
Yeah.
John, how you doing? Very good to see you in here. We got a lot of good ones coming in voting. So I'll take Sisley just to to be suck up to the chat a little bit, and then Eddie will get the count going, and let us know. All right, and where's my script here? Congrats, fellas. Whoever wins tonight, you earned your candy stripes. Warm-ups there for your hustle. Again, I think this is another good sign that each one of these games, we kind of have difficulty picking just one, right?
This one's hard. I mean,
so
this team, the Hoosier
it's not
hustle,
easy. What's that?
Believe it or not, I could make a case for Lamar Wilkerson in some of these, because he had a lousy offensive night and he still hustled throughout the game. I can make a case. Not a great case. I can make a case.
Yeah. So Conerway has one, DeVries has one, Alexis one, Wilkerson has one, and either Enright or Sisley will win tonight. Enright will be his second, or Sisley it'll be his first Hoosier Hustle Award. And again, we're up to 5 or 6 Hoosier Hustle Awards. Again, this is why I think win or lose, this is going to be a fun season. So, all right. Our next game is next Thursday against Lindenwood. Thursday, November 20th. They're playing tonight against Alabama A&M, Indiana's first opponent. So when you see that result, you can kind of get a gauge on opponent. One of our weaker opponents. The last two opponents, Incarnate Word potentially can win their conference. Milwaukee was the favorite for winning their conference. So when you see the sub 200 Ken Palm, they're not horrible teams to play, and we took care of one above expectations, and we took care of one below expectations, and that somewhat evens out. But so far, Indiana 4-0 is pretty good. But Lindenwood is ranked 325 on Ken Palm. It should be a little bit easier. Hopefully, Indiana can get its shot back. They are currently 2-2. They lost big to Texas Tech and St. Louis, and they have three or four guards that they run through their smaller lineup. They do have a 6'10 center, but he is the leader in threes. He's hit 5 of 9 threes in their first four games. They're a pretty poor shooting team. Indiana should have their way. And Coach, you can't schedule 11 top teams because you need some teaching moments. And out of tonight, there was a teaching moment when you're up 19 with 9 or 10, I think it was maybe 16 at the 9-minute mark when they took that timeout, or 14. You let them creep back from a 19-point lead in the last 12 minutes. That has to be a point of emphasis, and I think you'll see Indiana didn't do that against Marquette. They didn't do that against Alabama A&M, and they didn't do that against Marquette. They did let it happen tonight. That for me is the negative of this evening. But again, the first 28, 30 minutes was acceptable basketball, maybe not pure and perfect, but acceptable basketball. The last 10 to 12, not so much. But your thoughts on playing these teams? I thought Indiana has a good schedule, 4 really tough games, and then some mid-majors that can be top of the conference, and then a couple cupcakes like Alabama A&M and Lindenwood. What do we get out of this as fans and coaches and players?
I think you get out of this that IU, it was one of those games where you didn't hit your expectation, but you still found a way to win, and win even in some respects. You're not going to call it a convincing victory. It's not like, it's not like a rubber stamp, not like a big stamp victory. It's not like winning by decision, but they did rise to the occasion in a different way. And when things were going incredibly poorly, they just couldn't seem to get anybody rolling from the perimeter. And for a perimeter-centric team, that is really, 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 really hard to overcome. And they found a way to do it. So that being said, everything what we can take from it is that the coaching staff has some stuff to work on. They're going to work on it over the next 4 days of practice, and go into Lindenwood and see what they can clean up. And by that point, we were looking at Kansas State after, which is really the next really big test. And just go in and protect your home floor is really kind of the order of the day. These types of games happen. It's also, I think, from a coaching standpoint, how will this coaching staff respond? Much like when Signetti yesterday versus Wisconsin, they were up, 10-7 at halftime?
Yeah.
And I think he's going to bring out the whip, and he's going to bring out the guns and shoot it in the air, and he might pummel a stuffed animal. And no, he went in and said, boys, it's time for you to go out and have fun. Take back a deep breath. Plan. Take a deep breath. Don't let the pressure get to you. Go have fun. How DeVries responds to this and his coaching staff responds to this with what type of energy is going to be very telling. I have a feeling there's going to be, it's not being positive means you don't bring up the negative. Being positive is you don't run guys into the ground. And I have a feeling that he's going to kind of challenge his guys in a way that's going to be affirming and uplifting. I get that feel about him, that he's going to be that sort of coach that is going to, it's not, everybody gets a cookie. No, it's more like, you can do this, go do it. Show here's how we're going to, and here's how we're going to do this. But, don't beat yourself up too much over this. I mean, I don't see a world where these guys are running stairs at Assembly Hall at 6:00 tomorrow morning is what I'm trying to say. Right. And it's 2025. It's a different era. Players are different. Coaches are different. The world is different. But I think in this situation, how I'll be interested to hear, after we get off this podcast, what did he say in the press conference? How did he respond? Because I think it's going to be interesting to see how he described this game. I'm guessing it's going to be one of those things where he's going to recognize some of the flaws, but he's also going to be more affirming. Like, we know what we're doing here. We're going to get done. Yeah.
And we'll see. And that's why you do have these games like Lindenwood coming up to try to improve on those things that you felt you didn't do well today. Speaking of football, I want to give a shout out to all my fans up there in Section 111. They were on me for not giving them a shout out, and all the people who stopped by on their walk to Memorial Stadium that would say something to us. Again, we appreciate all the football fans. We appreciate all you basketball fans. Things are headed in a really, really positive direction in a lot of areas for Indiana athletics, and it's a good time. Scott Dolson has this thing humming right now, and we all should be very happy about that. But you're listening to the Assembly Call IU Postgame Show. Remember to check out our friends at Homefield Apparel. Use the promo code HOME23 to get 15% off your first order. Be looking for any deals here over the holiday season. I'm sure they'll have them. It's just really good stuff. But, Coach, it's now time for last call. As you get ready to end the weekend and head back to work tomorrow, and you've watched your Indiana Hoosiers tonight, what's on your mind?
We've seen this play, but we've been in situations. Teams are always in these types of situations. We should be happy that they responded the way that they did and walked out with the win. They extended towards the end. They didn't crack at the end. But I just think, again, it's just a special time for us. And I think it's also a special time as we're kind of seeing a new coach coming in and setting his culture. Let's just kind of see what the culture looks like, as we move through this season. Yeah, it's going to get harder. It's going to get tougher. There's going to, Louisville and Kentucky are a month away. Basically, a month from now, we could be looking at this conversation a little differently. But I also think it should be duly noted this team was starting, I think, at the 40-ish point in KenPom and Torvik, and have already kind of jumped into the top 25s in both. So you're seeing some definite movement where you can believe that this is a tournament team. You see this is a tournament team. And this is the sort of thing that tournament teams do. They don't falter. They don't fall apart in these situations. They find a way to win. They find a way to extend the win as much as possible to mitigate the damage. They take full advantage when they're up and they're rolling, and they're able to do the best that they can when they're not rolling and when they're in that sort of zone of outcome. So, yeah, I mean, we could be negative about it, but I think the positive part of this is we have a better idea now of how this team responds when things aren't going to plan. And we're not a one-person team or a two-person team. We're not a one or two-person team. We have multiple options.
Yeah, that's the thing that we're going to lose games, and I encourage all of us to be even keel on those things too. I think the program has shown in the first 4 games that Indiana is running an efficient offensive system, and they are really battling defensively to overcome some of their weaknesses. And we don't have a one-man show. Coaches making adjustments. I think all of the signs, if you are open to it, are that we are improving as a basketball program. And sometimes it takes a couple years to get everything going the way you want it, but I think while we're building that this year, these guys are laying it on the line. And I'll never forget the last game when Reed Bailey said they came here to win, and they want to win. And it is more of an Indiana basketball that we've craved, even when we miss shots tonight. And even against Incarnate Word, I will encourage people to enjoy watching this brand of basketball. And when we do lose, to be frustrated, to be bothered by it, because no one wants to lose. But make sure that you understand that we are headed in a good direction. And I would love it if the Assembly Call chat and Assembly Call fans and us here don't get in the everything's great when we win and everything sucks when we lose up and down mentality that society finds it in. Losing sucks, and we'll be here and tell you why we lose and what Indiana did wrong. But we're going to point out a lot of positives. And tonight for 28, 30 minutes, Indiana was a good basketball team. Maybe not a great team like they've shown at Marquette, but good enough to win as they were supposed to. And it kind of fell apart a little bit the last 8 or 9 minutes. And I trust Coach DeVries to get that corrected for Lindenwood and Kansas State coming up. But that'll do it for tonight's show. If you want to see us do the show live and be part of the live chat, make sure that you subscribe to our YouTube channel. That is youtube.com/assemblycall. And don't forget to go to substack.assemblycall.com to join our free email newsletter. Special thanks to Bob Thompson for the music you hear on the show. Special thanks to John Ringer of rigdesign.com for designing our logos. Thanks for Eddie for producing behind the scenes. Thank you to Section 111 for listening and always giving me heck up there in row 2. Thank you for listening. We'll be back again after the Lindenwood game to talk hoops with you Thursday night. Until then, keep your elbows in and your eyes on the rim. Go Hoosiers.
Take it from the green light himself. Keep your elbows in, eyes on the rim, and go Hoosiers.
Here I come, Mrs. Tonsoni. Well, the chat room loved it. No chicks will go out with you if you're not in the paper.
I think they've gotten enough show.
Oh, Eddie, you're outdoing yourself with some of them really bad Coach Tonsoni clips.
Nice work, Eddie. I like that. Oh, man. Well, hell, you know. Yeah.
Some appreciate it more than others.
Oh, man. Eddie, did you make the game last night or yesterday?
Oh, yeah, brother. I was there. What a great time.
Very good.
What a great time
Excellent
that
time.
was. We don't get to venture
I got
out
a couple
into the
shout
woods
outs.
very often.
A couple of our
and that's where we
followers,
hang out.
a couple followers were walking by, and I didn't know they were followers, but I was passing out free beer because I had to clean the cooler out.
Sure.
I got a couple shout outs from some of our listeners, so thanks for all of you who stopped by and said hello and grabbed a free refreshment. You know, you got to have a roadie to get to
You have to.
get to the stadium, right? And
Yeah, and that's not a short
You got to
walk.
do it. Yeah.
That's not a short
No,
walk.
no, not
you've
yeah,
been to
no.
you've been to where I tailgate.
Yeah.
It's not.
Yeah.
You need
It's
a
good,
little.
and it's also you're promoting hydration on what was a fairly warm day in Indiana for November. You know, you're not sure these
exactly.
people came prepared. You know, it was good for you. It was good for you. So
11-0, unbelievable.
Unbelievable. And everybody stayed. I don't know
Yeah.
if that's because the game was kind of tight there, but everybody stayed. Like there was a decent chunk of folks that were still there at the end of that game.
Yeah.
So Eddie, did you go over yesterday? Because I know did you actually watch it live at at Memorial? Okay.
Yeah.
So,
there in 108.
it's just. Yep. So we were, I was watching from home and I was just thinking, man, it's just the vibe, the feel just from the TV is just more than I've kind of grasped was possible. So I was talking to a friend of mine who went to the game and he was talking about how my friend got there at 6:30. The one thing we didn't do was tailgate. And I mean, it's like it's like a culture just popped up all of a sudden. I mean, not to say because people tailgated all the time at IU. Part of our problem was we tailgated, didn't go to the game. Now we're doing both, and so it's pretty remarkable that we're at this point. And I'm saying, guys, December 6th in Indianapolis, that town is going to be. It'll be the reddest that town's been.
Yeah.
In history,
That's going to be a good day.
That's going to be a great day. Yeah.
I put in for a media credential for the basketball. I know I can't get one for the football, but I don't want one for the football because I want to go scream and yell and have fun.
Right.
Can't be a fan up in the press box unless you sit by Josh Pose and he's out of control all the time. screaming at the guy's fouling and everything at the press row. I got to calm him down all the time.
Right.
Here's my dilemma. My team that would be the final of our tournament would be that Saturday. So if we make final,
lose.
Yeah, I can't physically do it. I cannot do it. We're 5-2, man, and I've got some scores to settle right now. I've got some teams I got to get back. We got to get these guys back. So I want to get back there. So you know, I'm like the only black and gold I wear is for Parkside, but it is. Ooh. It's like, man, I'm just thinking, I'm trying to figure out how do I structure my day so win or lose, I'm still pleasant, on Sunday.
What time do you play?
I think 5. So I might be able to pull off getting up, but there's no way on the basketball, the football, I can at least be into, and I can, watch the basketball game later. But yeah, I'm already pre-planning.
Hey, Dalton, you're here in the chat still. Where were you Saturday? I was hoping you'd stop by a tailgate.
Coach, did you I was curious, did you notice, I felt like the crowd was, and I don't want to, like, the crowd was great, but there were moments, do you just think it was a timid crowd? That it wasn't as loud as it probably should have been? Yes.
I don't know.
Sometimes I get this like weird nervous vibe up there. Maybe it's just where I'm at up in 108, where I'm kind of away from all of the craziness down below, and it doesn't get as loud where I'm at. But
yeah, well,
there were just moments I was like, man, it's 3rd down and people are sitting. Like, what's happening?
Yeah, man, you know what the problem was with the crowd? Dalton wasn't there. He was at a wedding. He just said, come on, Dalton. It better be like your sister's wedding or something. I come to expect to see you now.
Who gets married in football
Dalton,
season?
You shouldn't have answered that, Dalton. Now we're going to be all over you.
No,
it's going to happen all year now.
My wedding anniversary is October 9th. Who gets married in football season?
Unbelievable. My son had to miss the Illinois game. He was in a wedding. He wasn't happy about that.
No.
But no, I think the 10-7, it takes a lot to flush old IU football out.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. And when it's 10-7, old football creeps back in for a little bit. I know it did with me a little bit. I was kind of frustrated and like, fool around and find out, right?
Yep.
Blah, 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 blah. So I think it's just one of those that it's been good. Everyone talks crap about us. I felt that way when Penn State was coming back too. I was getting ready, like, oh, okay, everyone's going to say, we got beat by a 3-5 team, blah, 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 blah. Because as long as we have Indiana on our jerseys, we're not going to get respect from, the Feinbaums of the world and all of that. So I think maybe that played into it a little bit, a little nervousness.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, too. Fan bases don't know how to win. Like, we need to figure out how to win as fans, too. The football program's figured out how to win, too. Like, I've talked to my son about this, too. The games are going to be close in the first quarter, maybe even in the second quarter, and then we wear them down, and then coach makes adjustment. You got to trust the coaching staff. But it's been really hard for me after 30 years to get to that level, and I'm not sure I'm there yet totally. I mean, I believe in Coach Signetti and all of that, but we've got to readjust. And you're talking like cold turkey in reverse. We went from not believing and tailgating all the time to, oh, my gosh, now every game matters and seeding matters and can we do it? And we're not playing super well. And I think panic, stretches in a little bit. And
it's hard to flesh that out.
It's interesting.
Yeah. It's interesting. Well, I think Indiana's dealt with this as a state because remember the Colts, when Peyton Manning came, or really it was going back 30 years with when Harbaugh. And they made that first AFC final, or that first AFC championship game. And it's like, oh, that was nice. And it kind of fell apart for a little bit. But once Manning, you kind of noticed that the culture changed as the Peyton era continued. Mm-hmm. And we became a much more knowledgeable and a much better fan base. Like they quiet down on offense. They cheered on defense. The red zone got better. You heard the Metallica going and all of these types of things that just kind of birthed out of that, where now Indianapolis, which was, oh, it's nice we have football, became a football town. I think Pacers fans kind of found that this year during the playoffs too, that it's like, oh, well, it was nice while it lasted. Oh, wait, it's continuing. Right. And as that bandwagon grows, it's just trying to figure, I think Coach is right. You got to, as a fan bases, have to learn how to win. It took IU basketball a while coming out of the 60s, with Coach Knight to figure some things out. He had to get them going. So
that's a great point.
Yeah, and we have to get back there with basketball too. That's some of the negativity that came into the chat tonight. We won big 3 times, and then we win by 7 and should have won bigger. And it's also part, society is now like the minute you do something wrong, everyone screams and yells and loves to be negative. And those people who love to be negative, they need to be around people who are going to be negative. You can still be honest and evaluate football or whatever without going. I'm sure Twitter was all mad about 10-7 yesterday and shooting off, I find that very, very tiring. I will put this. I think people in the athletic department do watch the show and check on the show. The exit of lot 11 has to be addressed. The first game, they made us turn right, no turn left. And then the rest of the games, they allowed us to turn left on the bypass. And then last night, so we get in the lane and we have to turn right and go totally away from where we're at. And I don't mind if that's the route. And maybe I should have looked at the published, post-game stuff ahead of time. But you had 3 different routes out of lot 11, Indiana Athletic Department, and you've done 99% stuff correctly. But leaving lot 11 has not been one of them this year, and it's Allied or whoever it is that you've changed up. Please just get consistent so we know which way to go to leave, so I can get to the expressway as quick as possible. We even waited 45 minutes for traffic to clear, and then by the time we got there, nope, can't turn left out of lot 11, and we had done that for 5 straight games. But get that if you are listening. Again, everything's been fine, great season, but lot 11 exit. That needs some attention before hopefully we don't have a home playoff game. We get a bye. But before next season, get that straightened out and be consistent from game 1 to game 7.
And Tax
I thought 65 was rough coming today.
Look, Tax Megan and I have been beating the lot 12 drum for quite a while. You can stay pretty stopped in lot 11 for quite some time if you're in the wrong spot.
Sounds like
we're parking closer to the exit, so we're out of there pretty quick.
Sounds like the Dan Ryan Expressway at 5 o'clock on a Friday is what it sounds like.
Well, and I'm not complaining about how long it is to get out of there. I mean, when you have 56,000 people coming to games now, you better expect it. We waited 45 minutes, and we just did what we had done the last 5 games is get in the line to turn left, and then we get up there and we got to turn right against the flow of where we're going.
Right.
Right.
So I don't mind
you're fighting
the traffic
coming back.
Well, we had to try to make a turn left through that traffic and then come back and turn back right. And there's other exits that we could have gone to get closer to. And we could have weaved our way through to lot 10 or lot 9 and gotten out that way if we had to. But that was a little frustrating yesterday after 45 minutes. But I don't want to end on a sour note. I want to end on, Dalton, I hope you had a really good time at that wedding. Dalton, put in the chat, are you a dancer? Like, did you really go and have really good time, or did you just go and just sit around and watch? I mean, come on, man. I need to know a little bit more about you missing a football game.
Yeah, it's wild.
I'm just thinking like electric slide.
He's probably gone.
Yeah, gone. Electric slide or chicken dance. That's my thing.
Yeah.
Which
one? There we go. Which one? Which one is Dalton? I think Dalton's more electric slide. I would think he's more electric slide than chicken dance. If I had to,
I would hope he's got the phone propped up on the table, watching, letting the festivities happen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Not dancing.
I'm giving Dalton more credit.
Oh, he's not.
All right. Okay. Good. Yeah.
Hey, he's not a dancer.
You're in the corner. You're in the corner with
Eddie. Cha-cha slide. Trent.
That's another good one.
I'll tell you who had a great wedding. Trent had a great wedding. I was at Trent's wedding. That was a good solid wedding. But yeah, Dalton, you win, Eddie. He was sitting at the table sipping a couple drinks.
That's good. That's good.
I'm gonna make next time I see Dalton, I'm gonna make him dance on video, and we're gonna put it on the show.
Yeah, that'd be great. Let's do it.
All right, I gotta quit making fun of our fans here. They'll be falling off left and right. Hey, Russell, don't be concerned, man. Go, Russell, get a beverage of your choice, iced tea or something. Relax. We're 4-0 and 11-0, baby. It's time to be positive.
Be fine. There will be an X's and Joe's episode coming next week that's going to kind of do some explanation as to Moneyball stuff. So Mike and I got to get together and figure out. Mike's listening, going, wait, do we schedule it? No, we haven't done it yet, but we will schedule some time to get the Moneyball conversation, which is going to kind of delve more into the recruiting, because we've been talking a lot about it, but it's a very interesting landscape now, because we're not seeing the same halls that we saw, let's say, even 2 years ago. Programs have adjusted to this changing landscape.
Yep.
Oh, and quickly, I saw in the chat Asimovich. I believe I've heard he's redshirted. Have we all heard the same thing?
I would think he is.
Yeah,
my guy Dale just said good night. Good night, Dale.
Thanks, Dale. But
we got some good people.
I think that's
in the chat.
We really do.
I'm out of here. I've had enough of you, Coach, for one night.
Right.
Jeez, Pete. Eddie, thanks.
You're
thanks,
going to turn me off to my wife now. My wife has had to deal with me now. Okay. Talk to y'all later.
I feel sorry for her.